Alright, I think we can do it. I think there's enough information out there to make a strong statement about whether or not Vine Whip is stronger than Hydro Pump, because I've been able to get my hands on a decent Vine Whip Pokemon, but also there's been a lot of people praising Vine Whip as well. So I'm going to check out and review this video coming from the Pokemon Quest Discord, Pokemon Quest Vine Whip demonstration from JBZ, and this is fairly compelling, but it does show the weaknesses as well as the insane strengths of Vine Whip. That this isn't really the most optimized, perfect Vine Whip team, because I feel like Victory Bell, it's less damage than the Weepin' Bell for starters, but also it has a lot more knockback. And we're gonna discuss all these other aspects that happen later on in the video. But the Bulbasaur seems to be the strongest because it has the least knockback. While it does do less damage, it's still more than enough powerful. Like, all right, guys, keep your eyes on the Lapras. You know, did you watch that? Like, boom, one of those Vine Whips connected, and that was, you know, a third of its health. This one gone, dead, GG. Then another Vine Whip comes through. Where did Hitmonchan go? Boom, 40 seconds. Like, look at that, guys. 40 seconds in, we're going to be 4:15 at the Legendary Birds. Now, this isn't the fastest that people have made it to the Legendary Birds, but it's just kind of showing, like, yeah, Vine Whip can do pretty well. And when you look at this, you know, some of this was okay RNG, but I mean, we get some big crits in there, we get a lot of damage, and another thing to point out is that this is going to be a nearly impossible, like a very difficult team to set up, because Bulbasaur actually has weight. So, I don't mean like an actual like physical weight, but did you know that the Keystones, the actual Power Stones, are weighted towards the Pokemon itself, and Bulbasaur is a tank. So it's going to have a higher chance of getting the Hit Point Stones, which is something I've noticed, and you might have noticed as well, that different species of Pokemon, like, oh, if this Pokemon's a Sweeper, has a higher chance of getting Sweeper move slots. So getting a Bulbasaur like this one's doing insane damage, because it has like 7 or 8 attack slots, but that's just going to be very hard to get, as well as getting single move and the right bingo bonus. But that's a guys, did you see that? Keep your eyes on Zapdos now. Where'd it go? A 3-shot on Zapdos with the Vine Whip. Like, that's the power that we're dealing with right here, because when everything splits, when these Pokemon don't budge, it's insane. And look at that, we got 2 hits, 30% left on the Moltres. So I mean, like, relatively, you know, 3-hit Moltres. And then watch what happens when we turn around and then hit the yeah, the Articuno. So the Articuno ate like 4 and just died because it was moving around through the blizzard. It wasn't suffering knockback and just got ruined. So taking out the Legendary Birds went all right. Like, you know, that was a 112 and the Legendary Birds were gone. And if this was Mewtwo, I would imagine Mewtwo getting 4-shot by the Vine Whip, if not just like complete rounded. So, you know, if we have if we have Bulbasaur and we have Victory Bell hitting Mewtwo at the same time, that's 5 hits and it's dead. So in just like 1 round of moves, Mewtwo's gone. So I could see this being like a 1 minute 30-second run, and maybe like a 120 optimally. We've already seen from Hydro Pump, even my run with the Hydro Pump only, that was very unoptimized. Like, this still went really well. What saved it at the end was the Mewtwo just getting like completely blasted. But these Starmie aren't perfect. So it's also like getting the perfect Starmie team is very difficult, but at least you're not fighting the move slots. You just do have to get the water type move weight down, and none of my Starmie have that. So this doesn't have the optimized speed to make it for a run. Even then, like, we're just wasting time right now on the Butterfree. Hydro Pump is up, but we're not using it as we're running to the next Pokemon. So that's all right. But I mean, we can still see that Hydro Pump carries that massive wave clearing, just wipe potential right here, that, you know, this thing just goes down instantly because all 8 of those connect and it's over. Actually, that's not even 8, that's like 16, and then everything in its way just gets taken down. And it really comes down to bird RNG. So as you can see right here, 420, we're at the Legendary Birds. I've made it there faster as well. So it's like comparable to the Vine Whip. The Vine Whip felt like it started out slower because it's like missing some hits and trying to find some things, but also just kind of shows one of the advantages of Vine Whip, that Hydro Pump is very slow. That by using the extra Whack Stone, it's taking that time. Hydro Pump has a long cooldown to begin with, and then you have to move, you push back, you set up all of them, it takes a while for them to load, then the Hydro Pump moves out, and then you use the move again. Like, you can't do anything until it's completed, so it takes a long time for Hydro Pump to even begin going on cooldown. And, like, that's where the theory about Vine Whip is, because, like, the Vine Whip has the insane amount of damage, but it doesn't have that AoE potential. If Vine Whip repositioned after a KO, I feel it would be better. Or, like, repositioned after every move, it'd be better. But then, like, this happens to Mewtwo, gone. So, I mean, the damage is there for the Hydro Pump, and just those individual instances that we can see that some of these crits on the Vine Whip are doing insane amounts of damage. Even the individual instances of the Vine Whip are doing a lot, but I just think that Hydro Pump has more DPS, because if we're trying to be fair, you know, so what, it takes 3. You know, if we can 3-shot Zapdos or 3-shot any of the legendary birds with the Vine Whip, well, that's comparable to using the Whack Whack Stone and 8 attacks on the Hydro Pump, which doesn't necessarily one-shot the legendary birds, but is doing more AoE around it. So Bulbasaur can get in, but it's really only single target, and as we saw right there, it hits, and then, you know, it's just turning around. But if it, like, moved forward, if it lunged out a bit, and then went for that Pokemon, I think there would actually be a more compelling case that Vine Whip could be better. But then also we're stuck on this AoE. That, you know, if the Hydro Pump lines up just right, we're going to hit all 3 legendary birds with all the instances of Hydro Pump, and then that's going to take them down instantly. With this, we're waiting through a couple cycles of moves, because it just doesn't have the reach. And even if they did kind of line up perfectly, there's not going to be enough damage because the damage drop-off. That Pokemon eating, you know, the 12 hits or whatever insanity comes out of that Vine Whip initially, yeah, it's taking massive damage, but I think beyond that is going to be taking, like, very small amounts of chip damage, and I don't think that there's enough to actually kind of follow through with it. And another thing is, like, if it was the best, we'd be seeing it on the leaderboards, but right now we don't have a time on the leaderboards for a Vine Whip. That doesn't mean it hasn't happened, but no one's posted video, no one has done anything like that. And even then, like, there's a non-Starmie team that has 4th place currently. You can get a 115 without Starmie. So that's what we have this right here. It's still Hydro Pump, though. It's Golduck mixed with a Kangaskhan, but it's still very powerful. It's still a lot of damage, and just kind of shows that Hydro Pump carries whatever team is going to be on, and then you can do pretty crazy stuff right there. But I feel like, so my call is just going to be Hydro Pump is better, and I'm suffering from a little bit of cognitive dissonance. I'll admit that, because I'm the off-meta guy. I'm the guy that, you know, it's all about the crazy strats that no one ever thinks of, trying to be the best. And when you're going in that anti-meta mentality, it's easy to kind of want to go, well, what about Vine Whip? Like, there's the potential there. I feel like Vine Whip might, under the ultimate perfect scenario, have that chance of beating out Hydro Pump. But if Hydro Pump was given the same ultimate perfect scenario, then I still think it just has that raw damage. The raw numbers are there even more. And this is actually just a bad run for the Hydro Pump. If you're going speedrun wise, like, any Pokemon that uses, like, the defense boosting is just a run killer right there. But I mean, it's just, the Hydro Pump is ridiculous in what it does. But that's why I was thinking, like, what about a hybrid? I feel like that maybe, to offset the Hydro Pump cooldown, having a very powerful Vine Whip Pokemon that just kind of chipping and contributing in might be able to shave off, like, that extra second, that extra half second, to maybe find itself in, like, a first place potential that wouldn't have been picked up by just the 2 Hydro Pumps alone. And that's just because, like, that Hydro Pump has that long cooldown, it has that weight. So if we're, like, finishing off those legendary birds really early, because there's a Vine Whip that comes through and, like, cleans up all the Pokemon, or maybe the legendary Pokemon dies a half second sooner, because that Vine Whip going boom, boom, boom takes it out instead of the Hydro Pump, all this wind up, all this having to have, like, the moves come out and hit. But even then, like, look at that. We didn't even hit Zapdos and Moltres with, like, half of those, and they're almost gone. So we do have, like, that 1 round potential on the Hydro Pump that we don't have on that Vine Whip. So it does make the legendary bird, like, Vine Whip does make the legendary bird fight look really good. But the Hydro Pump is just too silly. Like, this move is absolutely busted. And I want to show you guys what it looks like when we pair Hydro Pump with the Vine Whip, because it's still very successful and looks very nice. Also, I do want to talk about the actual, like, move set, because it looks like the best Vine Whip on the Bulbasaur is just going to be 1 Scatter Shot and then 2 Whack Whack Stones, because it just hurts. We see the impact of it, and like I said, Bulbasaur doesn't have too much of that knockback, so it can bounce around, it can get a lot of those hits to land, and I guess if we're talking about, like, Victory Bell, you need just something impossible to happen where all the Pokemon are always, like, pinned in the corner and you're just wailing on them with full attacks, but I just don't think that's going to happen. That Vine Whip is very powerful. Like, it's single target, I'll give it that. Like, the single target is better than the Hydro Pump. But when we're actually dealing with the Happenstance Island boss and all these, like, extra specifics and things that need to go right, it just isn't there as much. Another interesting thing about the Hydro Pump is that with amazing RNG and like the crazy luck and, like, the most optimized attacks and, like, some things going right, I've actually had it to where 2 Hydro Pumps. So, like, just like the first wave of the attack actually taking out both Pokemon, and then the second wave kind of being a waste. Now, in theory, if we get that while Vine Whip is running, we can cut down time. So as we can see right here, compared to that other run, if Magikarp ate like some extra Hydro Pumps and we were a little faster against that Electabuzz, we'd actually be like 5 to 8 seconds ahead of where we were getting to Legendary Birds. So Hydro Pump plus Vine Whip doesn't really seem to slow it down, and we just did a lot of damage to the Moltres right there. But now this is where it does slow down. Like, this is where it's hard to justify, because yeah, the Hydro Pump, if somehow just like one use of the Whack Whack Stone Hydro Pump would be enough to like push it to where the Legendary Birds would go down, and then maybe on that second use of Vine Whip we're good to go, and then as Hydro Pump comes off cooldown we're hitting Mew or Mewtwo for the finishing blows and stuff, it could work. But I just think that it's not there, because like Hydro Pump is just so good when you have both of them being used. Actually, I want to try it with 2 Whack Whack Stones. So the cooldown on Hydro Pump, like I said, there's a lot of slow things about Hydro Pump that can be made better, and that potentially Vine Whip could augment in some kind of way, and I think it could be possible. Like, if there's some Vine Whip people out there, try at least like Vine Whip with the Hydro Pump, and then seeing if that's what it takes to actually start beating up on all these full Hydro Pump teams. But I'm just not seeing it. And then that's not even talking about like other things, because if we're talking about best, you know, we just talk about raw what happens in game under perfect scenario, but that's just not how this game plays. This game is a complete freemium app game RNG madness fest, and getting the right Pokemon is a major factor in the game, that it can take an absurd amount of time to near impossibility to get the right Bulbasaur, to get a full perfect Vine Whip team. The Hydro Pump's also pretty tricky, like I said, because we are looking for that move weight down, but the resources involved with getting a Bulbasaur, the time that it takes, because if we're going to be making a very good or a special recipe, that takes longer than the normal recipe for the Staryu. And then the Victory Bell just doesn't work, in my experience. I just feel like that's, it can't happen. Like, getting the Victory Bell, the Weeping Bell, with Vine Whip just takes too many resources, because the only way that you get it is through the yellow normal recipe, and then like trying to get rerolls and stuff. It's just very annoying, I think it is one way of putting it. So in my experience, you know, getting Vine Whip on specific or at least on the Weeping Bell was a lot more frustrating. The Bulbasaur wasn't too bad. I'd say that getting Vine Whip on the Bulbasaur is less frustrating than the than getting like a correct Staryu or something, but it's still like not better. So now let's see what happens if, wow, like, see, and then we just get a straight up 94,000 crit right there. And I'm going to try the double Whack Whack on Starmie, but the thing that I learned is that you can't double Whack Whack on the Hydro Pump because you move too far away. But Starmie already being a ranged Pokemon means we're going to start pushing ourselves out of range, and then it's hard to kind of make up for that. So I'm just going to let this Butterfree go down to auto attacks, and like, I guess maybe if we got like perfect Hydro Pumps to where maybe Bulbasaur is getting knocked back and then chased by other Pokemon, and Machop is also getting knocked back as well, because in like one round of moves, in theory it's there, and then if like actually, also another thing to consider is that if we had a stronger Bulbasaur, remember we're losing half of our damage compared to like an optimal Bulbasaur, so maybe that's it. Like, if you have that perfect Bulbasaur, which means if you're only going for one good Bulbasaur instead of 2, it seems more likely. In this might work out, because now the Starmie is getting chased down as we're trying to get all these other attacks in, and then everything's hitting. And imagine Bulbasaur, you know, one-shotting Zapdos, while Starmie is taking care of the other Pokemon, and then we get that attack in there. So this is what I think. Like, the full Hydro Pump, that already has like insane world record times. What was the fastest time? I think we're at like a minute. So I think, is it possible to get sub 1 minute with the Vine Whip plus a Hydro Pump? Potentially, if you have like the best Vine Whip Pokemon, and maybe running the triple like this could work. Except we just got wiped out by something and I wasn't paying attention. So that's just bad RNG from the Mewtwo, when it like just launches the attack and like perfectly wrecks all your Pokemon. But I think we would have finished off all those waves a couple seconds faster if we had just a Bulbasaur contributing to a one-shot while Starmie's using backup. And then you're gambling on this double Whack Whack Stone just to make the Legendary Bird fight consistent. And that's kind of it. So overall, Hydro Pump's still better. Vine Whip integration, if you are really dedicated, might have the results. And then I guess if like something takes the leaderboards, 'cause I feel like, you know, full Vine Whip team, not going to take the leaderboards, not going to be top 3. It has the damage, it just doesn't have the consistency, it doesn't have the team wiping that we see from the Hydro Pump, but maybe taking the best of both worlds could be a first place, and if that happens, definitely go do the update. But as it stands, Hydro Pump's the best, Maybe with Johto, if we get like a better Vine Whip Pokemon, maybe if there's like, I don't even know if they'd buff Vine Whip because it's already the second best move. Like easily, second best move. Better than Hydro Pump? I don't think so. If a stronger Pokemon is introduced, or maybe like its knockback gets nerfed for some reason, it might actually work out. But there we go, guys. That's going to be Hydro Pump versus Vine Whip. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope you all have a nice day. Thank you very much for watching.